Alright, zombies, yeah? We've discussed it before, right? In a metaphoric way, right? But today we're gonna discuss it from a different perspective, right? I love zombies, right? I love zombie games, I love zombie films and zombie shows, right? And it's not just because of, like we've discussed, the metaphorical viewpoint that the zombies are the sleeping people or the groups versus the individuals, however you want to team up or pair up those concepts and ideas, right? And it's not just because that why I love zombie films, right, and zombie games. It's because the subtext or the background information of the people, right? The zombie films are never really about the zombies, right? Because you wouldn't have much of a film if it was just about zombies, right? It's always about the people, right? And the most interesting thing is the survival aspect of it, how people react to situations and their true characters coming out under fire, right, under pressure. And then there's the creation of the zombies themselves, right, which a lot of shows and things don't like to get too deep into, right? The best example of people that have got deep into that side of the concept is Resident Evil, right? The original game, right? And the franchise as itself, the backstories, the ideas. Because I remember as a kid, right, because I really loved these games, this is back in the day before social media, right, was a thing. You just went to websites and looked at things you had interest in, right? So back in the day, I would go onto the Resident Evil website and they would have like the actual stories and the background information, the documents that they would write to make the overarching games link up together, right? And I would just read that. I'd read that script, I'd read that storyline on the website, right? And it was, I know, right? Weird, but this is what kids from the 90s did, right? Millennials, when we first got the internet, we just looked for stuff. We looked at stuff, right? We didn't just look at whatever was fed to us, right? We did that, right? So I would read these stories on the official Resident Evil website, right? And it would show you the background of how all of these things came to be, right? Now, why so interested in zombies, right? We already understand the perspective of what zombies are and who they are. But in Resident Evil world, what zombies are that you're actually playing through in the game isn't what the intended effect was in the first place, right? It wasn't just meant to be survival horror, right? It's a biohazard. It was called biohazard for a reason, right? Because it's a political, environmental commentary on what big corporations and pharma are doing, right? And that's what it was always about. The link between pharmaceuticals and army or warfare, right? That was what it's all actually about, right? As you delve deeper into the story, you realize the zombies are like the lowest level on the pyramid scheme of the virus, right? What the quote-unquote virus is, right? Because it was made because a guy was trying to find, I think, either a cure for some disease for his kid or the key to eternal life, right? Because there's various different branches of story, right? It all surrounds one family and scientists that come from that family, right? But that's the interesting part about zombies, right? And an apocalyptic idea, because the apocalyptic idea is the surface level, the face value of it, right? The subtext is governmental issues, environmental issues, and scientific and big pharma and warfare. That is the through line of it all, right? Why would stuff like this ever exist in the first place? One, it was to make a cure that went wrong, and then the cure gets sold as a weapon, right? Then you get terrorists, eco-terrorists, and what have you, using the weapon and creating biological warfare, right? Making zombies, making monsters, right? But through it all, in that side of things, the zombie survival aspect is the least aspect that they need to pay attention to, right? That's just the entertainment value of it. But now we can extract that ideology, that information, that whole metaphor, scheme, allegory, so to speak, right, and bring it back into the real world, right? So the zombies are the sleeping people, and people that would attack anything of conscious substance, right? Because they're unconscious and without brains, they would eat brains, right? Or they don't attack each other because they're the walking dead, right? They only attack the living, right? The awake few, right? So the awake few, right, or the survivors, shouldn't really worry about the zombies, right? Once they have a procedure to deal with the zombies, right? They should be more concerned with the people that are creating the zombies, right? That's what puts the general public to sleep the most, right? It's the people, the hidden hand, right? The economy, the government, right? And not to be all conspiracy theorists and woo-woo about it, but these are the deeper concepts. These are the meta-narratives that is happening through all of these games, right? Things like Resident Evil and things like Metal Gear Solid, right? And the creators of these things are beautiful people, right? Because they are putting this information there for us, the kids, right? The generation of game players that got to experience and think about things more, right? With more depth, right? We got to experience that, right? Before games became all about shoot 'em up, bang bang, right? They were points and then there was storylines. That was what games were, right? So that aside, right? And that's why I like the zombies, the idea of zombies. The survival aspect of it, and then the metaphorical aspect of it, what people are as unconscious people moving through the world, and then the hidden hand aspect of it, right? The uncovering of information and knowledge, and the why, right? Because the why is usually more important than the how or the when, right? It's why are we existing as humans, right? That's way more important than the how. Yeah, if you get into a philosophical point of view on it, right? So yeah, as that's a big long thing to go through anyway, right? But why I like those games, why I like those films, is because of that, right? You get the survivor's perspective, which is you in your day-to-day walk of life and the people around you, but you also get to uncover more information about the way the world works as you go on, and how people react to situations, the actual psychology of people when they're faced with problems. How do they react? How do they deal with it? Do they become lawless anarchists, or do they try to create communities and re-establish stability and order and things like this, right? It's really dope stuff to think about, right? Because the internet is a sea of information, and its users for the most part are all zombies, right? But its makers are umbrella corps. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Is application in warfare is your government, is your different nations with different agendas, right? It's all really interesting metaphorical stuff to think about, right? And it's each different idea, each different concept has meta narrative and subtext to it, right? Which is really cool for people that like to think and people that like to be creative and write their own storylines and narratives in the world, right? So just think about that. The next time you watch a zombie film or play a zombie game, see the three people, right? See the survivors, see the victims, and then see the people that are causing it, right? Don't just look at it like, yeah, look, we're just watching Walking Dead Rick trying to fucking keep his family alive and shit, right? There's more to it than that, right? That's why that show managed to last so long, until it got too distracted by the human aspect and not focusing on the why, right? The why. We want to know why, right? You see, the show will die without the why, right?